Welcome to Mayhem Nation. This is 22.1's open tips and tricks videos. We're gonna have a couple of our subject matter experts give you some tips on the workout. The workout is, and was just announced, 15-minute AMRAP, 3 wall walks, 12 dumbbell snatches, and 15 box jump overs. We'll have Pamela and K-Star, our subject matter experts. We'll have some athletes going through each of the workouts, foundation, scaled, and RX'd, and Tasia's gonna talk through some of that as well. So, come on.
Hey, what's going on, Mayhem family? We are stoked this year to help you thrive in the open. So the first workout has been announced, and I think it's actually quite reasonable. But if I'm looking at this, I'm gonna ask myself, what are my pain points here? What tissues are gonna get baked out? What am I gonna feel like? Now it's 15 minutes, so we can all easily survive that work effort. But remember, what we're trying to do is make sure we're as efficient as possible so that the session cost can be diminished. So this first thing that we're gonna do is talk about, hey, just really simple ways that I think will help you score better on this open workout, this first open workout. And then stay tuned, we have a second video about just what I think are the main recovery pieces from this kind of work. So we'll get started, and the first thing that I tend to see is that people aren't gonna be well prepared. We're gonna be hot and sweaty, yes, but we're actually not gonna get the shoulders as hot and sweaty as they need. And that ends up being sort of a link hole where I can't necessarily, I wanna save my shoulders, yes, but what we see is that if the shoulders bake out, that's really gonna cap how much work you can continue to do. So what I'm suggesting is get in that 10 minutes, easy, steady state, nose only breathing. Just make sure that your shoulders are really warm. You could do rowing too, but no damper load and just be moving. I just want a lot of blood in the shoulders. I want a chance for the shoulder musculature to come on board. And since we're doing so much pushing in this position, that this is such a wonderful, easy range. And just moving, make sure you long enough to get a sweat. It takes me 13 minutes before I tend to break a sweat. So on here until you break a sweat. And again, nose only breathing, zone 1, very, very low effort. Okay, so that's aside. Now your shoulders are warm. Couple positions I think are gonna be costly if they're ineffective. The first one is overhead. So theoretically, we're snatching 2 today, and if I'm inefficient on that snatch, it starts to get expensive. So not only do we want to finish a good overhead position here, but on that wall walk as we're pushing, eventually I need to be more competent here. And what ends up happening is that if I'm not as competent here, I'm going to flare the elbow, and it's going to cost me more to get into these lockout positions. Because I can't sort of rely on my structure, I'm going to end up relying on my musculature, then we end up spending a lot of money. So, first order of business, double overhead, since we're gonna be supporting that double overhead. Band here, and here's the key. Thumbs up, and then I really have a chance to push into these positions. And this is what it's gonna look like for me to kind of be able to noodle around, take some big breaths here, even practice rotation. Can I rotate that hand? Do I have choice here? What's nice about the double overhand versus the single is that I get to work both sides and I get to kind of sneak in to both sides. Drop into shoulders, going overhead. You'll notice how close my hands are to the head, and then try to even get a little thoracic extension here, but this should help you feel like I can open that up. And it will be restricted wherever you're restricted. You'll find that this will help with the chest in that kind of downward dog position, but also it just may be your lats. And if that lat is restricting, that's a big piece. So that's gonna be a pain point for sure. That'll help with both the wall walks and the overhead. The thing that we see on the dumbbell snatch is that people are we're gonna keep the hips high, and they are not gonna wanna bend the legs, because we're gonna wanna save the legs. Totally makes sense. So as people fatigue, back stays high and we start rounding. And again, this is less about injury. I don't think you're gonna get injured rounding back with a dumbbell, but what I think is that ends up being really expensive. So if we can prep hip flexion a little bit more, make it easier, then at least we're near our end range, right? Theoretically, full range is that I can get to 90 degrees with my legs pretty straight, but I'm still gonna need a little bend. And what you're gonna see is that most people will end up keeping the hips high. Now, most of us are gonna do some kind of thumb open position, which really isn't a snatch. Sage Bergen will tell you that we're not gonna actually be snatching, we're gonna be jerking the dumbbell up in like a weird swing position. So I'm not worried about that so much, except can I keep your back from being cooked? So there's two things we're gonna do here. First is I want you to get up on a box and I want you to close this hip down. And this is so easy to do. We've all got a box or bench or a chair at home. Don't worry about doing the band stuff. Just make sure that you're closing this hip down. And notice I can pull my knee over and try to get my knee to my chest and just get comfortable really closing the knee to the chest. That's gonna make it easier for you to bring that chest to knee and expose it. But one of the things I like about this position, do it the other way, is that I also can open up the hip here. If I'm stuck bent doing those handstand walks because I'm short here or trying to extend, it gets expensive to bring that hip through. I have to work harder. So since I'm already working on this, all you need to do is turn the back leg and sink in a little bit. And I get a kind of a 2-for-1 here, where I can squeeze my butt, remind my brain how to activate my butt when my anterior line is being smoked. So this position, turn the foot in, hang down, and just noodle in here. In a couple of minutes each side is gonna be plenty. And what you'll find, it's gonna be easier to open the hip and easier to close the hip. Last idea is something we call the rotation primer. So if I've got a rack set up, I just put a little light band in here, give myself some slack, thumb goes underneath, and just remind yourself how to create some rotation. Pushing into the ground to walk up gets super expensive when my elbows flare. It gets really tricep, shoulder heavy. So I'm trying to block in, right? I'm trying to push in. So all I'll do is grab the band, create some rotation, and I'm just thinking 20 to 30. It should feel like, well, I'm fatiguing a little bit. I just want to remind myself how to rotate so that when I fatigue, I can get there. If I wanted to go overhead too, just give myself a little more slack. I reach up, still thumb underneath, and just hit some rotations. So it's just the end. It's like me walking up the wall, making sure I have that control. Again, all I'm doing is making sure that I can rotate and push through so that that rotational efficiency is there. So, nice warm up for the whole system. Love this. Get those shoulders baked with blood. We've got a simple double overhand to make sure that that position is effortless. A couple ways to get the hips open quickly. Some rotation primers just to make sure that you feel super connected and poppy. Let the wheels come off. Let's see what we got. This is test week, and we'll see you after for recovery.
All right, so 22.1 is 3 wall walks, 12 dumbbell snatch, 15 box jump overs. Darren just finished it.
Did.
9 rounds plus?
Plus 1.
Okay.
Don't tell anybody.
Those wall walks, I mean, it's kind of, is it the rest of the workout? Like the breathing wise?
Yeah. I mean, like wall walks, they are what they are. The pace is generally always going to be the same. Yes, you can speed up your transition to it, but generally once you initiate the wall walk, your pace is probably going to be the same the whole way through.
The step up, the jump up, you have a preference on that?
You talking about the box?
No,
oh, okay, I was going to say.
I know you have a preference on the box.
I know I got a preference there.
But on the wall walk?
I think it was last year, right? Like when the workout came up with the wall walks and stuff, a lot of people started to figure out, hey, if you can press to your knees first and kind of initiate the hips back, you can start to gain that. Don't do like I did off the start and begin your walk. Make sure you get both
2 reps didn't count.
And then go.
Or you can jump. Do you like the jump straight to it? Do you think, so into your knees and then jump it up? Do you feel like you could have made up some time there? Is it
I think I could have if somebody would have told me that trick.
That's why you're watching this. Yeah. So you think though it would be worth it?
I would say if wall walks are not the main focal point for you, if you feel like you're really good at them, I feel like this could be an area where you could speed it up, yes. But if you desperately need a rest, then I think these have to be consistent at a steady pace rather than speed them up. That's my personal opinion.
The dumbbell snatch, smooth, fast.
Smooth is fast, fast is smooth. I think that kind of
power versus muscle.
Yeah, so I actually messed around with powering it up, but then once I found out how tired my legs were here, the weight is something everybody should have used throughout workouts and also throughout the years. You should be able to muscle it up. I think it'll save your quads a little bit because I noticed when I went to it after that, I was a little bit more tired, vice versa, just muscling it up.
Touch and go versus changing on the ground.
I like to touch and go, just get them over with. I feel like the reps For Sam, who probably did it too, I feel like these went by very, very fast. I feel like these are the two movements where you notice where all the time may be spent.
Box jump over. You gotta jump over lateral versus straight on.
This is where I strive, yes.
Okay, this is your deal.
So, yeah, I like the lateral for me. Again, I'm an everyday father of 2 athlete. So, jumping and then just doing a little step down and going. I don't have a very good spring, so for me to stay lateral and facing parallel with it the whole time. Sorry, hello. For me, doing it parallel with the box was a lot harder rather than getting this little side throw. So that's what helped me. Somebody who has a very good spring, they could probably be a lot more successful with this.
You can even do the step into the jump, kind of turn on top of the box. You'll show that a little bit if you need to. There you go.
My legs are exhausted.
If you want to stay low, it's going to save you a little bit of time. It'll also blow up your quads a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah, less time spent on top of the box is always better, because if you're hitting it, getting that little double clutch move or something, again, you're putting a lot more pressure on the quads. Some people, like in the past, find out standing up on top relieves their back. I know these movements, combo, also wall walks, handstand push in the past, put a lot of pressure on the low back. So if you are desperate for a rest, it's not going to make up time, but if you need to stand up and you feel like your back is getting crushed, that might be a good area just to look for.
Warm up those anterior tibs, get a lot of flexion in the top, getting over the box. You're also gripping the wall with that, so make sure you warm up the front of your shins. What else? Probably
one of my favorite tips in a workout like this, and wraps, if you have a judge that's a good buddy, not an enemy, finding a good pace and trying to keep it, like what we say, minute 30 is 8 rounds.
Yeah, I think
something like that. Yeah. Is that right? Somebody check that math real quick. Okay, but yeah, like if you can try and keep pace, I think in a workout like this, that's so crucial, because if you're really trying to get a score that you're trying to beat or trying to maintain, okay, then I do think that trying to hold around, let's just say every 90 seconds is a good way to keep pace. You can check every single time, buddy, keep you in check. Preference.
Your judge can't do that. If you take the judge's course, they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, so don't take the judge's course.
Anything else? Last little bit. Transitions, you know, the quicker you get into the next movement, the better off you're going to be. Smooth as fast, like you said. Get right to the next movement and move.
All right, Mayhem Athletes, it's wall walk time. You guys are definitely ready, because we just did an 8-week wall walk cycle. To warm up, I want you guys to just practice tension, breathing, and also the right positioning in your core to be most efficient. So rib is down, and we're going to be pressing through the ground. Hands are shoulder width, so grab a band to warm up. Remember, while there's only 3, it is 15 minutes long, so you are going to be coming back to the wall a lot. To be the most efficient, when you're down on the ground, I want you to press your butt to the wall. You're going to provide tension through the floor. You're going to take a giant step up, keeping your rib down. Hands are going to be right under your shoulders for the most tension. And then as you reach for that line, tighten your core, and you can, in a controlled way, fall to the ground so you are not using too many tricep muscles and giving your shoulders a break. Also, remember to breathe. You're going to be coming from the box jumps already taxed metabolically, and after the wall walks, you have to do dumbbell snatches. So this is a place you can breathe, be efficient in your movement. The tighter you are in the core and shoulders, the more tension you create, the more efficient you are. So good luck, Mayhem Athletes, and have a great time in this year's Open.
Hey y'all, what's up? I'm here to take you through 22.1 tips and tricks. The workout is AMRAP 15 minutes. We're going 3 modified wall walks, 12 alternating dumbbell snatches, and 15 box jump overs or step ups. Hey guys, what's up? So we're talking through 22.1, the scaled version. We got Kelsey here. She's gonna help me demo, and we're gonna give you guys some tips and tricks for this workout. So the first part of the workout is 3 wall walks. So they're the modified wall walks. We're gonna have Kelsey get down into this position. So similar to the RX version, I recommend for the tip would be to be pressing up in that worm style, making sure the palms are up off the line. So we're up onto the knees, and then we'll get the feet up on the wall, focusing on really engaging that core. So here, if you can, we just do a simple step back and forth. Yep, and then feet, oops, sorry, we got Miley in there. come down. So we'll have Kelsey do this one more time, this worm version up, brace the core, hands come back over the line, and then forward through that. So making sure if this is the hardest part of the workout, these are big reps here, so we don't want to get a no reps, or being super diligent in making sure the hands are clearing the line on both sides of the line. So that's our wall walk. Also guys, this is a 15-minute workout, so we want to make sure we're going out at a nice steady pace, not too fast, and then we can build throughout that workout. As we move to the dumbbell snatch, there's a couple options that we can do here. So we're going to pick up the dumbbell off the floor. We can go all the way up overhead, switch in front before we touch back to the ground. So we'll have to do one more rep, or we can switch on the ground. So we can set the dumbbell down and switch. One thing I would recommend while doing the dumbbell snatch is keeping the dumbbell nice and close to the body, not letting it get super high out in front, and switching in front of the face tends to alleviate a little bit of that back tension rather than switching on the floor. So if you feel comfortable with that switch up top, I would definitely recommend that switch. So we got 12 reps here where we'll move to the box. Here we've got 15 box jump overs, or with scaled you have an option for step overs. I definitely would recommend the step overs here. For most people, I think this will be the rest portion of the workout, so we're regaining our breath as we're getting over the box. So a couple of options. If you are comfortable being lateral to the box, I think this is a great method to use. So we can step up and stay nice and low over the box. Yep, just like that with Kelsey, and all the way back down here. So that's a great method if you feel comfortable going lateral. If not, we can face the box, and as we're stepping over the box, we can turn a little bit and face back that way. So these are both really fast ways to get up and over the box. Similar to the RX version, Darren talked about this. If your back is blowing up or you feel like you need a little bit more time, you can stand up a little bit on the box as you go over to alleviate that. But this is definitely the space where I'd say recover your breath and get ready to get back to the wall to get after it for 15 minutes. Those are my tips and tricks.
What's up guys, I'm here to take you through the 22.1 foundations workout. We have a 15-minute AMRAP, and that has 3 bear crawls, 12 dumbbell snatches, and 15 box step overs. All right guys, we're gonna go through 22.1 foundations. So it starts with 3 bear crawls with this 5-foot section. So to start, you have to have both of your hands and feet behind the line. So we want to try to keep your feet as close as possible to those hands, and then we're going to take big steps forward, and both of our feet are going to be crossing the line here, standing all the way up and then going back. So just like that. So take as big of steps as possible, that way that you don't have to stay down there too long. The bigger steps, faster across. Good. And then we have 12 dumbbell snatches. So just want to get that dumbbell up off the ground to make sure that you lock out at the top. The biggest thing with this is if you feel comfortable switching in the air, you can switch hands in the air. If not, we're just gonna switch down at the bottom. And then we have our 15 box step overs. This is only a 10-inch or 12-inch, box, so it can be easy to get caught up doing circles. So just make sure that you're facing the same way the whole time when you step over. Try to stay low. You don't have to stand all the way up. You can also face the box if you feel more comfortable. So stepping on up, stepping down, turning around. Just try to stay facing the same way when you turn so you're not going in circles. But that's it, so have fun.
Hey, what's going on, Mayhem family? I've got for you some recovery options for the first workout. Things that I think are areas that you can cherry pick as you like. Now, here's the deal. I think that one of the reasons we mobilize afterwards is not just to maintain our positions, whatever, position to position, but it's to reduce the session costs. Because what ends up happening is we know that during the open, even though you've been following Mayhem programming, even though you're legit, the intensity is a little bit higher. And some of you maniacs may even do this once or twice. So what we're trying to do is not destroy the week. We want to be able to swallow that volume and get some work done this week so we actually don't become less fit during the open, which is actually something that happens. We see people sort of game and organize their week, and then they get towards the end of the training session block, and they've actually become less fit because they're so worried about doing too much work. So if we can reduce these session costs, the cost of doing the open workout to workout, that means we can continue to do more work. So number one, a little quick hamstring recovery. And just think 3 minutes, 4 minutes. This is perfect to be done in front of the TV. I've just got a roller and I'm sitting out and I'm just gonna roll side to side. Don't go front and back. That's not how we cut meat. We cut meat to side. And so I'm gonna just floss back and forth here. And I love this because I can sit on my coffee table and get my whole leg here. I can load that hip into what looks like a snatch position, jump position, and then just scrub across. And I can just scrub or push and pull. But the bottom line is I can take that all the way from the glute all the way down and almost capture some of the gastroc. So one of the things that happens is that when we are just out on the ground rolling calves this way, is that sometimes we can't get the kind of pressure we're after. So a little bend in the knee at the end of a table and you are rolling. So this is a great way to kind of reclaim those extensors on the posterior chain. Okay, that's number one, hamstrings. Number two, some hamstring low back. So check this out. What I'm gonna do is just jump on the ground and I'm gonna just throw something up and do a little flossing. So what I love about this is it helps me to be active, and I'm just gonna flex my quads and just play around with this position. But what I'm doing here is, if my low back is cooked, I can pull this knee to chest and work at this end range. So this straightness is gonna really hit hamstrings behind the knee, but I'm more interested in what's going on with the low back. So I pull the knee to the chest and work in that position, and I'll end up capturing the hamstring a little bit higher up near the glute. So just wrap that thing in, hit some lockouts in various positions. But since you're here, we have a couple options. If you're feeling super baked on the low back, you can put your legs straight up on the wall. This is a great recovery to chill the low back. Or hook 90-90. Oh, the box is already there, the couch is already there. Throw a ball into that low back and just spend a few minutes scrubbing side to side. You can chill out, you can hit that QL, you can hit those erectors and that connective tissue system, and just a slow scrub from spine outwards will feel great. And since you're here, you can almost sneak that into the top of the glute too. So what I love is that we're trying to say, hey, I can get this work done at home. This is so easy to get a little bit of posterior chain love, get my low back to feel less baked out and just sort of more normal. Okay, so that's lower body areas I think you're gonna love. Upper body, if you're at home and you don't have any equipment, single ball to the back of the shoulder. Now, this back of the shoulders, because we're thinking posterior cuff and we're thinking what the heck happened with some of those external rotators. I just used them a ton to throw the ball over my head and to stabilize that shoulder so I could push. So all I do is put the ball somewhere in the rear deltoid or in the region between the scapula and the arm. Here's the magic. I can hit in this position. This is our front rack shape. And all I do is go bend the arm and then just some pressing here. So feel free to really just hyper work on the rotation and reclaim. Remember, every time that dumbbell came down, you had to use your back of your shoulder as a brake. So this is a really powerful way to get some input into that rear shoulder, back somewhere between the scapula and the arm, that region. Any of that's fair game. 3 or 4 minutes per side, work on breathing, and you'll feel afterwards, you're like, whoa, I can create more rotation there. Now, some of you are gonna be a little bit baked in the front of the shoulder, and this is a little trickier at home. You can do it with a roller. You can get on a long roller if you have one at home, and you can just imagine that this is a roller. Then you bring your knees up, and you can roll through the front. What we're really looking at is what's going on through this deltoid bicep system. And if we can just get these tissues sliding, a little self-massage here. Again, take a long roller, put your legs on it, right? And then you can just shear through it and press through the roller to get in here. If you have a barbell, just a little bit of massage, take care of those shoulders, roll back and forth, a little shear, a little rotation will help restore. If you're sore here, because I suspect we're not done with the front of our shoulders, it'll help with that rotation and to keep you plugged in for the next workout. So 3 ideas. 1, sit on a box, a little hamstring love, because it's so easy to watch TV and do hamstrings. 2, jump on the ground. We did that knee to chest lockout, right? Then we threw, since we're already there, we're like, let's talk to the low back, connect the chain. For the shoulders, a little posterior cuff, a little posterior delt with some rotation. And then if you had a roller or wanted to do a barbell, if your front of your shoulders were cooked, that's it. Idea here is you don't even have to get this done in the same night. You could break it up, a couple consecutive nights. The idea is, can we recover from this big session so we're ready to go for the next workout? Hopefully that helps, and we'll see you next week.